Hi, this is Angela with a new webcast series called Living the Shift. This is a little different than my other web series that I call A Cup of Sea, and I think those are going to continue on for the time being. But this is particular to actually applying our shift in understanding and consciousness, and applying our more expanded view of the world and our existence into our everyday lives. Because I get that question all the time in different ways, shapes, and forms, on how to take those spiritual concepts and apply them and integrate them with our everyday lives, because we have done such a great job at separating things that we many have forgotten how to just take down all the barriers and let it and know that it all flows together. So the first topic, which is the best topic to start with, it's wonderful, came up in conversation with a friend of mine who has transcended the limitations of the belief system she was brought up with, and still works within that, but has expanded her consciousness on it and expanded her acceptance. So she asked me, we were in conversation, and she said, something that I haven't gotten yet is the understanding of, I'm all for everyone is fine the way they are. So if somebody's in a homosexual relationship, that's their choice. If they're bisexual, that's their choice. If they're transsexual, that's their choice. She said, but there are some things that just don't sit with me, and I just have not quite gotten the answer yet. And she said, and she was telling me about a conversation she had been having with somebody who reflected it back to her to make her realize that's really what had bothered her, which was the person had said, well, the way I look at it is that, if there's yin and yang, and you have a male and a female, that's yin and yang. If it's a female, it's yin and yin, and if it's a male and male, it's yang and yang. And so she said, and so that sort of really stuck with me, because I was like, yeah, maybe that's what it is. And I said, well, what we're going through right now is, again, we're shifting our consciousness. We're shifting our remembrance. And taking down all these walls. And we're remembering that we are the divine. So in doing so, we have done this tremendous job. We've done this tremendous job on how to create the perception of separation. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, here's the thing. My understanding is the only absolute in this universe is unconditional love and the oneness. And the oneness is unconditional love, and that's what we are all a part of. We are all a part of that. We have always existed. We always will. We are eternal. We are an eternal consciousness. And so everything else is illusion, which is a really big step for many of us to take. And if you study A Course in Miracles, it really sort of touches on that, and it can be sort of overwhelming to some. There's a book called The Disappearance of Our Universe, and that really sort of is the Cliff Notes version of A Course in Miracles. But it comes down to this. We created the idea of, let's go through an existence and pretend we're separate. Pretend and forget that we're pretending, so we really believe it. And let's really, really do it, to the nth degree, because, hey, we have nothing but time in existence, so let's just do it. So, we split ourselves. We split ourselves into, say, soul groups, soul families. We split ourselves into gender, the concept of gender. And then some of us split ourselves into twins, some of us split ourselves into different level beings, and we split ourselves, we split into different levels of consciousness simultaneously, different versions of us simultaneously, knowing that all of this really is all simultaneous. So we have done this in about a bazillion different ways, and it's sort of like, you've ever seen those really big collage of little tiny photos that make up a picture? You put those little tiny photos together and they make up another picture. That's really what we've done to ourselves. And we're only one level of the next level of the next level kind of thing of the divinity. So we get stuck. We have gotten our egos and our minds stuck on that concept of duality. And when we created the idea of creating the perception of being separate, that's when we created the concept of duality, because there is an I am and there is an I am not. And whenever that is, there you go, you created duality. You created two, where there's only really one. So like I said, whether it's gender, twins, different beings in different galaxies, different levels of evolution, different levels of consciousness, different levels of different, and then just physical differences, right? We have our skin color, our hair color, our eye color. And we have done this to such a nauseating degree. It's just really amazing if you step back and look at the whole thing. And it's brilliant that we've done this because we really, really, really went out and did that whole experience. So coming back to the question, we are always all of it. We're always complete. We're always balanced. It's just the perception of the amounts. We've created our physical world to be the perception, to be the physical representation of our perception of separation and the need for balance. So we got into that whole discussion. We were talking about that, and then we got into the discussion about, homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, all those different kinds of relationships, and the things that come up with all this controversy and everything else, and trying to apply it and trying to make sense of it. In terms of, even like acupressure, they talk about the yin and yang and having to bring that in balance within the body for the body to be healthy. So what we started talking about was, here's the thing. I have the Trinity energy that I teach, and it's something that I was gifted remembrance to in fall of last year. And in the discussions around the Trinity energy is the Christ consciousness within ourselves. It is the divinity within ourselves and the remembrance to that. And the practice of using the Trinity energy is coming back to this wholeness, to this completeness. And it was told to me very, very plainly and very simply in conversation with Jeshua and Ezekiel and Mary about it is time for us to stop using the word balance and start using the word complete and completeness. Because as we wake up to the fact that we are complete at all times, then we will automatically come into full balance. And our physical representation, our physical world will come into full balance when the more we all remember our completeness. And the Trinity, the concept of the Trinity is the Divine Mother, which is the feminine, the Divine Father, which is the masculine, and the Divine Child, which is the creation, the power of creation within us, and what is created from that completeness. And bringing that all together, knowing that always is and always will be, that is the remembrance that we're working towards. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether, in practical terms, when we start coming at things from this perspective and change the way we look at things and living the shift, then we realize it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the person or persons or people we love are packaged. That's all it is a package, because our souls they don't have a gender. Our souls, we come back multiple times, sometimes hundreds of times, and we do masculine and feminine. We've been boys and girls, and guess what? We've been girls that have been very masculine and boys that are very feminine. How many times have you seen just even heterosexual couples that they're both very assertive, both very yang, and how there's always this friction between them because there's an imbalance physically, because they're both imbalanced within themselves. They both practice the incompleteness of being too much one thing and another without that full completeness of the balance of yin and yang and creation. And when we do come into full completeness and we come into full balance, we do naturally come into that full completeness of creation, with creation as part of that. And it becomes easy and second nature. So we go back to this. So there are plenty of male-female relationships where, both are yin, both are yang, and there's a really big imbalance in that relationship, and you can see that in the physical sense, and that's how we created all this, so we can mirror it back to ourselves. And when you have a relationship that is the most complete and the most comfortable and progressive and helps grow both individuals, that's when both of them are complete within themselves. Now, at different points, we attract different things, and we've gone through this perception of separation, this perception of gender separation and Trinity separation, and so we feel like to create, we need to attract what we are not, what we do not perceive ourselves to be. So if we perceive ourselves as female, then we attract somebody who has that male energy for that completeness so that we can create a child. And that's where a lot of that argument comes. Well, man and woman, but I think if my feeling is truly with this shifting, there are animals in the wild that will change they will actually reproduce asexually if that's not available to them. And yes, necessity to bring on to continue the race on, but the sense is we are all eternal. So we're all eternal. We're always going to be in existence. So we'll find another way. We will find the highest and best way of doing it. So when we bring that completeness within ourselves, then we can create ourselves. And when we do that and we are complete, then guess what? We will draw others to us who are complete in themselves too. And again, it doesn't matter what the packaging is. It doesn't matter if it's two women or if it's two men or a man and a woman. It doesn't matter. And the next part is this: when we are complete within ourselves, then when we don't feel like we're lacking something, and we don't try to pull it to us in exclusion of everything else. And when we do that, then we stop limiting ourselves from just having to love one person without ego, and in the unconditional love way, in the higher love kind of way, in the higher understanding of what love is. Because essentially it comes down to we are all unconditional love. We are all, you are me and I am you, and we should all love each other unconditionally. So as we start completing, and we will draw to others to us who are completing within themselves as well, and then we will change. We will completely shift. Our realities will completely shift, and we are doing that. But this is this point in time where we're shifting. This is this point in time where we're changing direction, because we've done this to death. So that's the thought for today. A lot to think about, but it is a practical application of where some of these concepts fit. So we'll see you next time, and this is Angela for Living the Shift.